Hey everybody, Bob Cicherillo. I'm here at the NPC national offices in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And who better to be with but the president of the IFBB Professional League, Mr. Jim Manion. Jim, thanks for taking this time out to clarify some of the things that have been going on over the last few months in the state of bodybuilding.
Thank you, Bob.
Now, clearly, there's been a lot of changes in the works, in particular over the last 3 months, most of them culminating at the Olympia, held just a few weeks ago. So I wanted to get your clarification. There's a lot of confusion out there as to what's happening between the NPC, IFBB, IFBB Pro League, and so on and so on. So first and foremost, concerning the NPC, are there anything that is changing now that has anything really to do with the NPC here in the States?
Absolutely not. The NPC is status quo, as I would say. Nothing has changed as far as professional qualifiers, all the way from the Junior USA all the way through the Nationals. So really this move and my leaving the IFBB Amateur Federation, meaning the NPC, has no real effect on the NPC at all. Nothing's really changing here. Most of the changes and all of the changes are going to be overseas.
Yeah, that's been probably the biggest question that we've seen because of the letter that was put out last week, which stated that the NPC was in effect under suspension and various other language that was used. Can you clarify, Jim, how that works exactly? Was the NPC a part of the IFBB Amateur Federation, or how did that work?
Yes, the NPC has been part of the Amateur Federation of the IFBB, absolutely. But some things have happened, and which I didn't agree with, and so we had a discussion in Las Vegas last Wednesday. Couldn't come to an agreement with them, so I said that the NPC was no longer going to be a part of the IFBB Amateur International, and so that includes the Professional League also. But as far as the NPC goes, that doesn't really affect us, because the only thing we ever really competed in was their World Championships, and that wasn't even all the time every year. Some years, we went, and some years we didn't.
Yeah, and a lot of that changed years ago with the war in the Gulf and certain things back then that actually lent to some of that going on. The NPC, as it is, Jim, has always run as a separate entity from the Amateur Federation. The NPC, as everybody knows, here exclusively in the United States, we took care of, obviously, all the pro qualifiers and competitors turning pro in the IFBB Professional League. But some of these changes had started years ago. This is not something that just came up suddenly. Back in 2005, there's actually a split of the federations by Ben Weider.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I wasn't even there at the Congress when Ben Weider decided to have a vote, and they separated the IFBB Professional League from the IFBB Amateur Federation, the International Federation. So that was done long before,
Sure.
2017, where we are now. So the IFBB Professional League has been running autonomously from the IFBB International Amateur Federation.
All right, so just to give a history lesson, because this is where it gets confusing for a lot of the newer generation that's come in that we're not privy to the beginnings of the IFBB and all that. Joe and Ben Weider, as everybody pretty much knows by now, founded the IFBB way back, and it was pretty much all under one umbrella. It then split off into IFBB Amateur, which is pretty much Europe and South America, and IFBB Professional League, which is obviously the pro league as we know it.
Yes, absolutely. So what I am in charge of is what Ben Weider started, the IFBB Professional League. It is the same league that will take you to the Olympia. So I'm only carrying on what Ben Weider started. The IFBB International Amateur Federation was all over the rest of the world. But in the United States, the NPC has definitely been a big part of the IFBB Professional League. A lot of the athletes that you see on stage at the Olympia, the Arnold Classic, etc., come out of the NPC.
So, in effect, we haven't gone anywhere. I mean, we're still exactly where we started. It's the work that Joe and particularly Ben Weider started many, many years ago. And like you said, you're continuing on this work as we move into, obviously, the next foreseeable future of the IFBB Professional League. So, in effect, we've gone nowhere, Jim.
No, absolutely. As you said when we started, the NPC is really not going to be changing at all. Everything is going to be the same. You're going to be going to the same contest. There's been a lot of rumors out there about the NPC Nationals being canceled.
Right.
Well, we're giving away over 60 professional cards there. So I don't think you want to miss out on that. So don't listen to the rumors that are out there. The NPC is alive and well, trust me.
Now, so nothing has changed here, which is good. And obviously, everybody can be put to rest with those rumors. The next thing that's come up the most often is obviously the changes happening mostly in Europe now. Previously, the IFBB Amateur was in charge of shows over in Europe, issuing pro cards, so on and so forth. That's the biggest change that's going to happen. The IFBB Professional League will now be running pro qualifiers in Europe and the rest of the world.
Yes, absolutely. What's going to happen is, actually, we're starting in a matter of, I think, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, in Kuwait. Batter is running the Kuwait Pro Show along with an open amateur event in Kuwait, where they will be turning pro to become into the IFBB Professional League. Then we move on to San Marino, where he's doing the San Marino Pro with the first time ever open Amateur Olympia. I mean, that's going to be open to any athletes from any federation around the world. It's the same thing we do in the NPC.
Now, let me just clarify, because this is, again, another spot where people have gotten confused. Amateur shows, and I want to emphasize, amateur shows only are open to anybody from anywhere, any affiliation, any 3 or 4 name organization you're from. We don't particularly care. They're amateurs competing for an IFBB Professional League card. So only in the amateur division can you come from anywhere.
Exactly. The IFBB Professional League has not changed any rules at all. You compete in the IFBB Professional League, you become a member. That's the only IFBB Professional League that is going to recognize as our pros. You can't be a pro in another organization and expect to become a pro in the IFBB Professional League. And they will only compete in IFBB Professional League shows.
So there's one path and one path only from this point forward to get to the IFBB Professional League and to get to the Olympia stage, and that is through the NPC or through the shows that are going to be putting on in Europe and the rest of the world that are IFBB Pro League qualifying shows.
Yes, I mean, we're definitely going to be using the NPC here in the States as usual. And internationally, I think we're going to be in almost like 18 countries already. We have interest from everywhere in London to Indonesia to the Philippines to Japan, China. And of course, in the Middle East, we have Kuwait, which is starting off to be our first show.
Yeah, I just got a small list on me. Events confirmed for 2018 as of right now. Italy, San Marino, that's coming up in just a few weeks, as you mentioned. The United Kingdom, Spain, Canada, Korea, Colombia, Kuwait, the Philippines, Mexico, Vietnam, and Ireland. And then we have another 6 or 7 that are confirmed, but we're going to kind of hold off until they're solid and then put into place. And then a whole bunch more that we're working on. So for those that are wondering whether there's going to be shows or enough shows to compete in, we're actually expanding this greatly. Part of the reason for the split, in effect, is that the amount of pro cards that have been given out in Europe and the rest of the world has not been on par with what we've given out here in the States, or the opportunity has not been given for these athletes to even have a chance of competing in the Pro League.
Absolutely. Also, there's a lot of times that these amateurs are competing internationally. They're winning pro qualifiers and weren't getting their pro card for one reason or another. That I didn't like and I thought was wrong. And that's what I hope to correct by doing our international open shows.
And we've had, I can't even tell you how many examples of that throughout the years, but more recently. And what you're saying is exactly true, Jim. We've heard stories of people that have won pro qualifying shows and then been denied, saying any excuse from, well, we just don't think you're ready, to why would they do such a thing?
I can't answer that question. You have to ask them that. I don't think it's a good idea.
In the NPC, we've had a very black and white system, literally from day one when you put the organization together, which was you win, you're in. There was never any question. There was never any. I mean, you had to submit your paperwork afterwards, but that was merely for a formality. If you won your class at the Nationals, if you won the overall at whatever the designated show was, there was no question whether you'd get into the IFBB Pro League. You won. You earned your way there. That's the way it should be everywhere.
I agree. What was that saying you just said? If you win, you're in?
You win, you're in.
That's what's going to happen internationally also.
Well, and I think it's great for all this is about the athletes. And anybody that knows you, and I've known you for most of my life, has always known that you've always been for the athletes first and foremost.
Well, I think if an athlete competes in something and is told that it's going to be a professional qualifier and they win it, then I can't understand why they wouldn't turn with pro. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Well, there's a lot of speculation on that, which we'll go into at another time as to why. But all we can control is what we do on our end. And that is pro qualifying events here in the States, business as usual, USA, Nationals, North Americans, Universe, whatever show is designated, same as it's always been. Abroad, IFBB Pro League qualifiers put into place with pro shows attached. So this will give an opportunity for competitors from all over the world to compete for a pro card, a guaranteed pro card, not we'll take you under consideration. And also expose them to the IFBB Pro League pros that are going to be out there.
Yeah, it's going to be great because these amateurs are going to be getting to, mix it up backstage and talk to the pros. So I think it's going to be a great idea, and I can't believe that we're finally getting to do this, but we are.
Now, I'd like to clear up some of the misconceptions that have been out there. A lot of people have not had access either to yourself or to we'll call it the American bodybuilding system and the way we do things here. An IFBB Pro League card is how much money? How much does it cost to be a member of the IFBB Pro League?
$250.
$250 a month, a week?
Yearly, from year to year.
Yearly. And the reason I ask this rhetorically is obviously I know what the answer is. It's a $250 charge yearly. This is for all IFBB pros and has been for many years now.
The same for Phil Heath as it is for anybody else, $250.
So some of the stories that we hear out there of athletes being charged really just egregious amounts of money, thousands of dollars in effect, $2,000, $5,000, up to $10,000 to actually join the IFBB Pro League has nothing to do with us.
No, not at all. And I've never witnessed it. I've heard the rumors like everybody else has. I don't know if they're true. I don't know the athletes are, I would doubt it for making up lies, but I can't say for sure. I've never seen it happen. But my name's been drug into it many times, which I obviously have nothing to do with.
Now, I want to circle back to the meetings that were held over Olympia weekend. There was an attempt at least to reconcile and to see if things could be worked out. Obviously, that did not work out favorably in terms of anything that you were willing to entertain or put into place. There was things that you wanted to see change. Those changes were not met. So you decided that we're going to separate.
Yes, without going into detail, I had some complaints, some things I wanted to address, and we couldn't come to an agreement on it. So it's, to me, we just decided that it's time for us to depart from the IFBB International Amateur Federation. No hard feelings on my end. It's business as usual.
Well, and to a great degree, Jim, I mean, they have run as a separate entity for many, many years now. Anybody that's been around in this business knows. They have classes that we don't have. They have divisions that we don't have. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But clearly the two, you can see why this was put into place back in 2005. Like I say, this was not something that just happened over the last year or 6 months or even over the Olympia weekend. There was a reason that these two were split in 2005 in the vision of Ben Weider.
Yes, I guess that he thought that since we have different rules from the International Federation and the Amateur Federation, he decided that we should be split and run as a separate entity. And I believe it's a, great idea which Ben came up with. And as I said, I'm going to try to continue his dream. Okay,
Jim, to clarify another point, the shows that are being put on, let's just take the UK for example. There's other federations that are currently in place, like the UK BFF and other federations. We still have shows set for 2017. How does this change impact the shows that we have slated still for this year?
Anything that's designated as a professional qualifier, I'm not going to try to hurt the athletes. So we're going to honor those through 2017. Starting in 2018, it'll be a different story. But if there's a contest scheduled to be a professional qualifier, all the athletes that win, they're free to write to me, tell me what they won, prove to me that they won something, and we will definitely turn them professional.
All right, you just took the next question out, which was we've received a slew of emails from athletes that have won their pro card or should have won their pro card. Some of these people winning shows as prestigious as the Arnold and World Championships and things, and then were denied subsequently. So you were actually willing to take those under consideration with proof, of course, and a lot of them have pictures with the first place trophies, things like that, and they will be granted pro status.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we've already done some. So the word has gotten out without them before this interview. So they've written to me, and we've granted them pro status because if they want a pro qualifier again, I believe they should get their professional card.
Well, right is right. It was earned. Like you said, you win, you're in. Okay, Jim, so just to clarify, athletes from other organizations that are pros in their organizations, they cannot compete as a pro in the IFBB Pro League.
Correct. But they are welcome to come back and try to get into the NPC, which we have done in the States.
Sure.
There's been athletes from other organizations that have been so-called pro organizations. But internationally now, they'll be able to get into these international professional qualifiers.
And the reason we do that is to maintain a level of consistency. We have no bearing on what any other organization does, what their rules are in effect. So we can't recognize anybody else in effect. You have to come through our organization.
Absolutely. It's called the IFBB Professional League, which I'm the president of. That's the only pros that we really recognize in the IFBB Professional League. In order to get there, you kind of come through one of our qualifiers, whether it be in the States or internationally.
Okay, now green cards. This has also been speculated a lot. I wanted to have this opportunity to lend some light on this. There's a lot of people that operate under green cards and want to compete. Also, people that are from different countries. How does that work?
Well, you're right. Here in the United States, I get 2-3 emails a week. They have a green card, they're not an American citizen. How can they turn professional? In the past, they've had to go back to their country, get the okay from their federation, and they had to go back to their country to compete. Now, that's going to change. If you have a green card, you're going to be able to go compete in the Arnold Classic this March in Columbus. So we're going to let them go there. We're going to let them go to the North American Championships if you live in Mexico, Canada, or the United States, and also the Amateur Olympia. So any of those 3 shows, if you hold a green card in the United States, you'll be able to compete in any of those 3 events.
Now, let's take the Arnold Classic, for example, in Columbus, coming up this next year in March, as always. The classes that will be offered for the amateurs will be the same ones under the NPC. So none of the international classes will be offered. Is that correct?
Correct.
So there will be no...
Well, what I like, we're going to finally get the new division, the NPC's new division, Classic Physique.
Classic, right.
Which is only being done here in the United States and Canada. Ron Heshe's been doing it in Canada, and Mo in New Zealand. So now it's going to get to be a worldwide stage at the Olympia or the Arnold Classic, where you're going to be able to see professional athletes from everywhere competing in this division.
Some of those other classes that we only see in Europe, South America, the wellness class, there's some modeling type classes where they actually have clothes on. I've never understood those, but we clearly do not offer those.
Not at the moment.
If you're an amateur, again, from anywhere, this applies even to the shows here in the States at the Arnold and at the Amateur Olympia, that you can compete for an IFBB Pro League card.
Absolutely.
I think that's about the fairest system that we can possibly get for the athletes that are out there.
Yes, like I said, it's been a real hassle before, and I feel bad for the athletes that do live here and have green cards, but now we have options for them, so they will be able to get into the IFBB Professional League by competing in any of these events.
Now, it's quite an impressive list, the list I just read off of countries that are already on board. Federations that are not on board, they clearly just do their own thing. There's no affiliations. There's no other 3 or 4 named organizations that are a part of. Like I say, and I emphasize this because there's been a lot of speculation as to whether we're going to honor cards from other federations or they're a part of us or a sister organization. There is none.
No, there's no other organizations. It's going to be the IFBB Professional League and these open events. There's no other federations we're going to honor professional cards from.
Jim, another question I've seen come up a lot lately. The changes with AMI in regards to the Olympia, really a separate business, almost has nothing to do with any of these changes, correct?
In which way?
The Olympia, that AMI is taking control of the Olympia, and but that's really almost separate and apart business. It doesn't really have much to do with the changes that are going on with amongst the federation.
No, not at all. AMI, David Pecker, have bought out Eric Weider. There was 2 years remaining on the contract. I think it's a great thing because AMI is doing so many great things for the Olympia, obviously bringing the Rock and $7 production in. And David Pecker just keeps increasing the money. And I actually want to give a little plug and a little shout out to David because people were worried that when David purchased the Olympia, meaning AMI, that things were going to go backwards. I feel they've gone forward. David's not afraid to put his money where his mouth is, and he's not afraid to give the athletes a lot more money than they've ever received. And I salute him for that, and I'm proud to work with him.
That's for sure, and I've got some stats here on that, all this ties in, Jim, but you can clearly see where AMI is headed with this, with what Joe and Ben started with, which you have continued on, and now David Pecker in the mix, of course, with the AMI. The IFBB Professional League has been sanctioning the Olympia Weekend and the Arnold Classics for the past 13 years. Including the Arnold Europe and Spain and every other show. 2005, total prize money $1.3 million. 2016, over $4.1 million. A sizable increase. In 2005, a total of 535 competitors. In 2016, a total of 3,021 competitors. So you can see where things have expanded greatly over the last 10 years in particular, and obviously we can see great things going forwards.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to get bigger and bigger because now that we have this international contest in effect, we're going to see many, many more athletes at the Arnold in Columbus, at the Olympia, etc., everywhere. I think it's going to be keep getting bigger.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Jim. Like I say, there's a lot of things that have been some gray area. I know there's some legalities that came into play at first, so some things couldn't have been talked about, but obviously things are a little bit more clear now. But I thank you for taking this time to educate the great fans out there, and mostly important, the competitors who are now going to have an equal and fair chance of getting to the IFBB Pro League.
I appreciate it, Bob, and absolutely, if anybody still has questions, you can always contact our office, and we will answer everybody's emails. But I hopefully that everybody's cleared up a little bit more on this than we have in the past. I look forward to a great 2018 and on.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jim.
You're welcome.